In big cases that go to trial, you often see and hear about expert witnesses, but who are they exactly and what do they do? Phil Harding, Colorado's best legal expert, is here to explain about expert witnesses. You're going to tell us all about it. We're going to jump right in. What do they do?
Well, great question. Hey, look, expert witnesses are used in cases all the time. And expert witnesses range from medical providers like medical doctors, chiropractors, radiologists, physical therapy, and the like, to accident reconstructionists to show how an accident occurred, how an individual may be injured. In fact, I once had a brake technician testify as to, and remember, this is just a guy who works on the brakes, testify how a brake company should have properly installed brakes, and then they failed and caused this accident. But let's look at it, and let's jump right in here and see how an expert witness is defined under Colorado law. Remember, CRE, you see it right there, stands for Colorado Rules of Evidence 702, and it specifically says, a witness qualified as an expert by knowledge, skill, expertise, training, or education may testify thereto in the form of an opinion or otherwise. Now, look, you have to make sure that you have the right expert. I represented a guy once who was in a bicycle accident, and he was hit by a car, and he had this head injury. After the accident, there was a CAT scan done and an MRI taken, and it didn't show any brain injury whatsoever. But this guy was injured. So I located one of the world's leading neuroradiologists. You ever heard of that? A neuroradiologist?
I have not heard of that. Yeah. Quite specialized.
He is. And he had my guy go and have a special MRI done. This was called a Tesla 3 MRI. And here are some images from this Tesla 3 MRI. Now, when you look at this, the regular CT and the regular MRI did not pick this up, but you got to kind of look close here. And there are little arrows going down there. You see these little dots, and those were the brain injury that came out. In this particular case, everyone was claiming that, you know, since the original CT and the original MRI didn't show anything about my client being injured, he must not have been injured. But he was. Because of that, I sought out this world-renowned expert for my client. As a matter of fact, I hired this neuroradiologist, and he was from Vegas. He's the guy who tells boxers when they can box and when they have to stop boxing. You know, who knows more about brain injuries than a neuroradiologist or a doctor that, you know, consults with boxers and so forth, concussions and getting knocked out and all that stuff.
Yeah, he's a real expert, and I'm sure he changed the whole entire case because he brought his expertise in.
He absolutely did. I mean, you can kind of look at this and you can see these two different ones. On the right, it's probably a little more demonstrative as to those lesions in the brain, but sometimes you have to go all around the world to find the right expert for your case.
How do you do that? You just start researching?
Yeah, you know, different attorneys talk to each other about who they've used in the past and what they've done. You know, in fact, I want to talk more about experts because there's two different types of experts that you're going to look at. There's what's known as a retained expert and a non-retained expert. Your treating provider, like if, let's say you were injured in an accident, and your doctor, dentist, physical therapist, they're known as non-retained experts, which means the court will let them testify with less burden on proving their expertise. Just like a brake expert, right? Yeah. You know, it's not like they've gone to years and years of school. So that's a non-retained expert. Now, retained experts are truly hired guns. Those are the guys that will come in and testify and talk about how injured someone is. You know, in this case where I had this expert come in and prove under 702 that my guy was really, really injured. Look, experts are very expensive, and you need to make sure that you have the right one for your case and know how to use them. So, you know,
and you were telling me that I'm not going to say how much they can make, but they can make a lot of money. So if you ever need a TV expert, I'm your woman.
I know.
Right? Put me down on the list.
Well, here's another thing that I want to talk about. And everyone, I've had people call in, even clients and people here from the station, and I've talked about little black boxes. Remember how we were talking about accident reconstructionists? That
yeah, they're in an airplane.
Right.
Right.
But they're in cars too.
Really?
Every car from the 90s forward has these things called EDRs, and EDR stands for Event Data Recorders. And look, we have one more graphic. I want to show you this. Here is like one of 20 pages from an EDR. Now, you see all these graphs and all this weird stuff going on, but look at that top line. That top line really shows that the RPMs of a car. So it shows that like 3 seconds before the accident, this is 5 seconds before an accident occurred.
Wow.
You see that someone's accelerating.
Yeah.
Now the next line down that you see, that's the speed of the vehicle. So he started going down. That next line, which is that red line, it tells you if the brake was on or off. So you see that this person was stepping on the brake until 3.5 seconds before the accident. Then they started to accelerate, and they accelerated up to 0.4 seconds before the accident. And then if you follow that green line all the way over, you see at the point of impact, the car was going 21 miles an hour. So this is how much information is in everyone's car, and no one knows about that.
Well, we know it now. Thanks,
know
Phil.
it now, yeah, about
we
the
learn
black box.
so much every week. Thanks for coming on. And if you have a question for our attorneys, go to kwgn.com and click on Colorado's Best. You will see Phil Harding's photo on the right. It's coming up. I see. Oh, there it is. Yes. Just click there and send in your questions, and he's going to answer each question personally and confidentially. And to reach Harding and Associates directly, call 303-762-9500. And you can get a free consultation anytime. You can also find him online at hlaw.org. Thanks, Phil.
You're welcome.
Up next on Colorado's Best, the cutest kids ever